Welcome to the first edition of Fast. Yes, indeed, a brand new TV show on Ignition Channel 189. We're looking forward to bringing you all of the Northern Region's action. This one was the first one from Midvaal. And man, did we have some good racing here today.
Yeah, it's been a cracking day here, to be honest. It's one of the best motorsport events we've been to so far. Tons of crowd, lots of family, and a ton of competitors. It's like they ended last season and they were just dying to get racing again.
Modified production cars, super saloons, and the Comsol Volkswagen Challenge is what we're going to be looking at. And of course, in every single one of those categories, there's new drivers, there's new cars, and there's new excitement. Let's go and see what happened. There's over 34 drivers in the Comsol Volkswagen Challenge coming out for round number 1 here at Midvaal. And with this class particularly, we're going to see some immense action. They're brand new drivers involved. There's a couple of guys that have been in this for a long, long time. And they're all hunting down that man, Harry Potter himself, James Hurley.
With Comsol being the main sponsor of the Volkswagen Challenge and the 2015 season upon us, we came out to Midrand to catch up with Ian Stevenson and Comsol, find out what the plans are for the new year.
Ian, thanks for seeing us. Obviously, we know you at the track. Normally, you're in your overalls. It's great to see you wearing a suit and tie. It's pre-season. Let's talk about the link between Comsol, VW Challenge, and your own racing passion.
Well, number one, racing is my passion. I've been involved with VW Challenge now for it's my 3rd year. And there's a real direct link between what we do as a business and racing. And number one, it's really, really good fun. So technology, racing, hand in hand, and it's a different medium to present to the market, to use as a marketing tool moving forward.
And it's a little bit of a download for you on the weekend. Something fun just to get it out of the system, eh?
A big release. 4 years of fun.
And I know the Comsol guys, the guys that race in the VW Challenge, they like to keep it light, don't they? I mean, you probably look forward to every race meeting. It's just fun catching up with your friends. Yes, there's a challenge. You want to go racing. It's the VW Challenge after all, but it's a lot of fun down there.
Yeah, it's great fun. I mean, off the track, we're all good mates and a lot of camaraderie and really brilliant bunch of guys. But trust me, on the track, it's a different story. Yeah, a bump here, a knock there, dive here. So very serious on the track, but off the track, really great fun. And I really enjoy the weekends. But on top of that, it's also the support guys. It's the guys behind the scenes. It's not just the drivers. It's the mechanics assisting, prepping the cars. And there's a lot of interaction between everybody. So it's really, really brilliant to be involved with the whole series. And great bunch of guys.
As far as the technology link goes, we know for the last couple of seasons we've seen development over the cars. We used to start out with a ton of Golf 1s, Golf 2s came in. When the Polo started to come in, things really changed.
Yeah, I think we've kind of led the charge, and specifically under the VW Motorsport banner, we've developed the new Polo shell. We've produced a brilliant car. It's now the Class A car. It's a 2-litre format. It's really quick. It's faster than the Polo Cup cars, and we set the trend on where the series is going. And so last year was the second season. The first year was the development season. So last year was kind of to sort out all the little issues with the vehicles, and we've sorted them out. We had an issue with the flywheels. We've had issues with the gearboxes and general car setups. But this year, from last year, I think we had on the grid, we had up to 8 cars. And the indication is this year that we're going to have 16 cars on the grid plus. So what that does to the field, if we've got 16 to 18 Class A cars on the grid, Class B is fairly full, and we're still supporting the guys with the Golf 1s and everything else. So in effect, this series is now the biggest series that's currently racing in South Africa.
Ian, talk to me more specifically about the technology and the work that is going on here at Comsol at the moment.
Comsol, we are leaders. We've set trends in the wireless communication space. So over the years, standard connectivity speed has been in the region of up to 100 megabits. Now, to date, we are doing multi-gig through a wireless medium. So in essence, where we are leaders in last mile connectivity in South Africa. So delivery of connectivity to organisations that need proper, reliable capacity, and that's our business.
In qualifying, it was all about Class A for the first 4 positions, with Rory Atkinson doing everything right for the Comsol team and getting it on pole ahead of James Hurley. Ian Stevenson in 3rd place and Louis Robertson in 4th in the A's.
Nick Clark leads the charts for the Class Bs. He gets it in 5th place. 6th place goes to Dane Stewart, and Andre Needham 3rd in the Class Bs, a little bit further down.
So as the cars came to line up, this is what they were going to be expecting here today. It's not going to be an easy race because Bs and A's start together. A little bit further back, the C's are waiting to go, but into turn 1, Hurley looked like he got the drop, and yes, snuck through and stole the whole shot.
Yeah, Hurley was on fire in the early laps, and he tried to get some clear air early on. So the pole sitter, Atkinson, got beat up in turns 1 and 2, and it was last year's champion Hurley who started to leg it away.
Class C is getting off the line quite nicely as we go on board here with Graham Savage a bit further back. And you can see just how hard he's having to work in this big pack of cars. It's not going to be easy to get through. And with this kind of action right from the word go, woo, we're in for a good one here.
There was a huge lineup of the Class Cs, but at that time, all the Class As were stretching it out down the back straight, and it was looking all good. Brad Hall had a great view looking forward into the big braking marker, and Atkinson started the fight back.
Yeah, he came back real early and got onto the inside and forced Hurley wide. Little nudge between the two of them, but that's what rubbing is all about racing as they head down into the complex now. Look how close it is between those two. Really, really great stuff between these two drivers, and they were going to give it horns right to the flag.
In the Class Cs, all about Kraus and the incredible Polo starting the big charge, getting on through and beating out Alka van Vletter, the Bat Lady.
Bat Lady losing out 1 position, but they've still got 2 positions to make up there as they get through. You can see how close it's got between Bat Lady. On the inside comes Zander Roos looking for a way through and looking pretty dangerous as well as he started to put the pressure onto the Bat Lady and the incredible Polo.
Zander Roos had got into the old man's car from last year, and it looked like a lot of development had got into that vehicle over the last couple of seasons and was charging. But it was Sean Kraus and the incredible Polo who was piling on the pressure in the early laps.
The reason that was Sean Kraus in that incredible Polo is Wayne Kraus was busy building a brand new vehicle for a class higher up, and we'll see that in action later on this season. But all about action into turn 1 as the Bat Lady is feeling the pressure from Zander Roos. Remember, it was all Zander Roos in 4th place. His brother Luan had got into his car, and it's now the 2 brothers racing.
Early lap problems. Tyrell Govindasamy having to limp into the pits, having been forced off and picked up a puncher on lap 1.
That was the end of his race, but the end of the race had definitely not done that on the track. As we get onto the braking markers down at the bottom, Kraus moves into the lead for the first time, runs a bit wide, and it's chopping and changing between the two of them. It is really close between Andy Gossman here, who we're on board with, and Sean Kraus.
The 2014 season showed how promising the Class C battle was going to be, and it looks like 2015 is definitely going to deliver. In qualifying the Class Cs, there was something like 8 drivers, 8 cars across the board on the same half second.
Incredibly close between those Class C cars as always, but more importantly here on this particular circuit, this is where things start to change up. As you get onto the braking markers, out of the slipstream effect, you can use it to your advantage, and that's exactly what Kraus was doing. A slightly more slippery car and was able to get through, but Roos, with even more slippery car, was able to get through better, and look how close it got between the 3 of them.
Zander Roos was able to benefit from the double slipstream, and all of a sudden, the 2-horse breakaway became a 3-way split at the front of the Class Cs. Roos and Kraus had taken over.
Yeah, Gossman dropping down 1 position there and falling into the clutches of the Bat Lady. Bat Lady was coming on strong in the final part of the race, and I think it was going to be a dice to the line. You could see the incredible Polo boys on the side giving him horns with the big Hulk hands.
Yeah, by this stage of the race, and it was heading towards the later laps, Sean Kraus was stretching off the front. The only man able to run his lap pace at the late stage of the race was Roos. It looked like Gossman was going to have to really fight and hang on hard for that 3rd place if he wanted to keep it.
By this stage of the race, 2 other cars had come into play. It was Simon Levine, and just in the background, you can see Stuart Mack putting pressure as well. So 2 more Golf 1s coming to fight at the front end of Class C. It was about to get real exciting in the Class C battle.
Alka van Vletter, always so good at the Midvaal circuit, and the Golf 1 extremely well planted. She's found some extra power as well to try and hang tough with those slippery cars out front.
And those slippery cars are starting to pull a bit of a gap now over the rest of the field as Kraus and Rus start to open up a little bit of a margin as they get into the closing stages. But Andy Gosman was not going to let them go. He had to worry about the fact that the 3 Golf 1s were coming, and look how close it was getting there between Mac and Levine. Oh, side-by-side stuff as they go down into the bottom turn 5 at the end of the straight.
Yeah, Levine was under attack from the Mac, and the Mac was charging on through. Always a good section, the last sector of the Midvaal circuit. So good for the Golf 1s as they are incredibly well planted. But all this was slowing down the pace of the chasers as the top 2 were getting away. Gosman, for the time being, was living on in third.
Levine decided it was time to get a move on and started to look up the inside every single time he got a chance and nearly made it stick on occasions. Just what Rus was doing here, a bit further up the field between himself and Kraus. And now, of course, coming up onto the back of a brand new driver in this class, Lindsay Kleur.
Sean Kraus was making the incredible Polo work and overworking the tyres. Xander Rus had maintained his rubber a little bit better, and he would be one to watch out for in the later stages.
Back into the Class B battle, a bit further back in the field, and in fact a little bit further up in terms of the race positioning, and Brad Hall was all over it. He was fighting hard in the Piazza Musso motorsport machine, looking to try and find a way past on Dale and on Dane and also on Gerrit Henning. Henning all of a sudden in the mix for the Class B honours.
These Class B cars were able to lap under the 1:20 bracket at Midvaal, which meant they were on incredibly strong pace. The VW Challenge cars able to run hotter laps than most of the national competitors right now.
Great battle here between the 3 of them as they came to complete another lap of racing, and now getting into the closing stages. Wonder what was happening a bit further up. We'll get into that a little bit later, but look at Hall late on the brakes, looking for a chance to sneak through, and finds it eventually.
Hall able to apply that pressure. He had done this the whole way through the race, and it was finally paying off, moving through upper position. But still, the battle was on.
The fight back came immediately, and it was not going to be easy there, because all of a sudden Brad Hall was back under pressure. Back to the front end though, and yes, Rory Atkinson had hung on for now, but we're getting into the very, very closing. Oh, a little tap between the 2 of them as they came into the final turn at the bottom of the straight, and that's how exciting it's getting heading into the final few laps.
So late in the race, Atkinson had done the work and got through. It looked like Hurley had done the fight back, and in the Class Cs, it was a 2-horse race once again. So the breakaways were all happening at the front, and incredible action happening all the way down to the wire as we headed on to the last lap.
A big gap there between the Class C guys, but we hang tight because that's why. Check out this action. Heading into the final lap, they're into the leaders of Class C, and Atkinson's got to try and find a way of keeping Harry Potter behind him. It's not going to be easy. Potter sneaks up on the inside and goes with Atkinson into this final lap. Who was going to have what it takes?
It was always going to be a risk, and looking at the times coming out of qualifying, it was on the cards that the top players, these top 2 drivers, able to lap a full second faster than anyone else out there, were going to come into this scenario. It unfolded on the last lap, and Atkinson was under huge pressure.
As always, we were expecting something big in amongst those back markers. Levine wasn't a problem, neither was Gosman. Were we going to see something possibly with the Bat Lady, or even, oh, and look at this, right in the closing stages, a problem for the big boss man, Ian Stevenson, parked at the bottom of the straight.
Yeah, Comsol's main man had had some horrendous gearbox problems throughout the weekend, but all the while, traffic was causing Atkinson some major problems, and Hurley was starting to benefit.
It wasn't only traffic, it was also because of the yellow flag. Atkinson came out of it because of the yellow flag. That gave the advantage to Hurley, who snuck through under green and got to the lead with 3 corners to go.
So Atkinson, having done all the work throughout the race, plying the field and making the holes, and it was Harry Potter who pounced at the very end.
Yeah, a little bit of magic coming out of Harry Potter. He just timed the yellow flag to perfection, saw what was going on. That's why Rory was braking so hard. He knew he could not go past Stuart Mack at that point, and a very happy James Hurley takes the first flag of the season. Rory Atkinson is going to come back in race number 2.
Incredible lap times coming out of the Class A competitors, and the top 2 guys really setting the field alight, but there was drama.
The drama being that both Hurley and Atkinson had passed Stuart Mack under yellows. That gave them a 30-second penalty and dropped down to 3rd and 4th place. Nick Clark taking the Bs and Cs going to Xander Rus.
Talking about what could have been, Rory, you got a killer start. You ran with that race the whole way through. Jamesy was with you, and then towards the end there, the lappers came on. We knew it was going to be a story today. Close racing, and your times are tight at the top.
No, it was a great race, very close. The back markers were a little in the way, but they also there to race, so they must hang on to their line and keep dicing their race, man. We had a good one.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be you and Jamesy for the whole way through the season, but round number 1, everyone wants to take the first win of the year. So close, man.
Well, we'll see it. I believe it was a pass under yellow, so we'll let the stewards decide and we'll go from there.
Tell me about the setup for this year, though. I'm looking around the pits. Everyone has come out banging. Incredible turnout for the cars and the drivers.
There are some beautiful cars out there. The guys have put in a lot of effort in the off-season. There's more cars coming. A number of guys couldn't be here today. So the series is growing nicely, and we're very proud of that.
In the Class Cs for the Comsol Volkswagen Challenge, it was an epic battle between those two cars behind me. Xander Roos is running incredible pace this year, and Kraus was right with him. Tell me how the race went from your side, buddy.
Well, the start wasn't as well, fell back a bit, but then we came back at the end and just tried to keep the lead the whole race.
That incredible Polo, he's found some numbers this year, hey?
Yeah, he's getting there. It's good to see the new guys getting through, the older guys staying at the back. So it's more fun for us, and they must now try and keep up.
And what's the deal? I mean, this kid jumped into his dad's car, so dad does all the prep the last few years, and then you take the cream, eh?
Well, he's not as good as a driver, so we switched drivers this year, and it's just going amazing with a new car.
Whatever you do, don't go anywhere. Join us after the break for some more action from the Comsol Volkswagen Challenge.
Welcome back to Fast and the first bit of racing action for the 2015 season. We've already seen race 1 action from the Comsol Volkswagen Challenge. This was the highlights from race number 2.
As they went down into turn 1, action aplenty between the two Comsol Polos. Herbie was tucked in there, and the Sabertech car looking very, very dangerous here in the second one. Didn't see much of Smallberger in the first heat, but certainly he's going to be there in the second, as will Levine. And look out, on his outside comes Gossman. Just behind him, I think it'll be Stuart Mack.
Coming out of race number 1, the Class Cs gave us some incredible racing action, and there were at one point 6 cars in the mix. It looked like we were on for exactly the same bit of action once again, and everyone was going to be chasing Sean Kraus and Xander Roos.
Xander Roos looking for another victory because he'd taken one in the first heat. At the front end, though, Hurley wasn't allowing Atkinson any room at the front to play, although late braking from Roos almost got him up the inside.
Both the Comsol cars, Ian Stevenson back in the mix after his gearbox problems coming out of race number 1. He was running in the top 4 in the early stages.
The top 4 were extremely close, especially on this very first lap, and you could see even the photographers already getting the action that is supplied on Facebook by Paul Bedford, Paul Blackburn, and the likes thereof.
Smallberger was running in the 3 spot. Remember, though, he was coming off a race win, gifted to him by the top 2 passing under yellows in race number 1. But right now, he was the man on for the overall victory on the day.
Yeah, depending on what the lap times are going to be out of those first 2, that would give him an opportunity. Speaking of lap times, Levine was on fire. Unfortunately, Xander Roos lighting the tyres up as well and ran a bit wide, opening up the door and allowing an opportunity for the Bat Lady to sneak through.
Roos just got caught looking at the back bumper there of the incredible Polo, and he would have to build pace once again. But it was proven in qualifying and his lap times that he can charge through and get through the traffic.
As we saw in race number 1, race number 2 proved to be almost a carbon copy of that Dice. Clark, this time though, was feeling the pressure from Brad Hall in the Piazza Motorsport machine. And there were another 2 cars involved there as well, with Henning just behind them and Andre Canet stepping up to fight it out with the Class Bs.
The incredible thing that happened in race number 2 was the pace of the Bs picked up in the early stages, and they were able to run almost onto the back end of Louis Robertson.
Robertson was feeling pressure, there's no doubt about it, from those Bs, but the pressure was also being felt by Roos, who all of a sudden had the Bat Lady well within his grasp. And the Bat Lady was looking for a way through, so he decided to up the pace himself and get past on Kraus. And under braking down into the bottom turn, nearly made it stick.
Sean Kraus had battled with the braking markers at the end of the straight every single lap in race number 1, and Xander Roos had taken note.
Eventually got through, and that was all he needed. It was now time to open up a little bit of gap. But of course, that little machine that Kraus is in was in the hands of his brother last year, and certainly has got a great pace, particularly here at Midvaal.
Well, that's what we have seen coming into the 2015 season, particularly in the Class A's, formerly the FSI category. The development has been founded, and they are incredibly dialed in for this year.
And as we saw in race number 1, in race 2, back markers would be an issue, and eventually they started to be caught. At the front, though, no problems for Rory to get past on Luan. It looks like there might be some issues, though, just behind for Stevenson and for Smallberger.
The Class C battle had only just begun by this stage. Sean Kraus and Xander Roos were tag teaming, going back and forth, knowing that they were well ahead of the rest.
They're giving it everything they can to try and get away from the rest of that pack, because they weren't too far back. Look how close it was getting, though, between that backpack. It was Gossman and Levine, and just on the inside, Stuart Mack, and those 2 had not given any room whatsoever. Heading into the final corner, a big move up the inside from Levine. Looked like it might work unfortunately, a little bit sideways, and yes, Tag City.
It was always going to be on. The guys get a little bit wild going into the final turn of Midvaal, and certainly it can get crossed up on you. Mac and Levine, formation flying.
You can see there from onboard view of Mac just getting it completely wrong. Little bit of a slip before he tagged the back end of Mac. Mac unfortunately was out. Levine able to reverse and get back into the action.
Mercifully though, the yellow flags came out, but the red flags stayed in, and the racing continued.
Herbie continued to fight it out just ahead of Stevenson. Stevenson and him had gone left and right, back and forth, and eventually Herbie had got ahead. It's Cheeseburger, Mr. Derek Smallberger himself in that Sabertech Beetle that was fighting for honours with Ian Stevenson in the Comsol Polo.
The 96 car was desperate for any kind of result on the day after having changed gearboxes not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Definitely wasn't going his way, that is for sure. Speaking of going the right way, Zanderus was definitely looking for the right way to get to the front end. And Kraus just getting in the way, trying to avoid one of the back markers. Brand new driver there, Lindsay Kleur just hanging on to that line, as is the rule. Unfortunately, though, Sean Kraus wasn't able to find a way past and eventually got back on track, but was now down in about 6th place in the Class Cs.
At the sharp end of the race, and Atkinson, our fastest qualifier on the day, and a man who was robbed of a victory coming out of race number 1, was trying not to repeat the same thing and would run out front.
His teammate had massive issues as Stevenson parked it on the sideline yet again. Not a great way to start the season for Ian Stevenson. We know he'll be back. Oh, and Hall got it all kinds of out of shape at the bottom of the straight, which gave us an opportunity to watch James Hurley park it on the sideline.
Yeah.
He's retired from race 2.
It was a huge turnaround for the reigning champion. Hurley would be leaving Midvaal with not too many points in the bag.
And what that did was give 2nd place to Derek Smallberger, which would probably confirm an overall victory for him on the day.
A lot of development going into Herbie over the last few years and starting to pay off. The Bat Lady and the Golf 1, though, was still in the fight.
Sneaking through and finding a way through on our new driver there, Lindsay Kleur, in the Polo. Good effort for the first time out. And I'm sure that red and white tape was going to be coming off pretty shortly.
Race number 2's for the Class Cs was delivering once again. Sean Kraus had done the big fight back and was starting to plough the field.
And as we saw earlier in the show, Stuart Mack was still stricken on the inside of the final corner. So there were yellow flags going into the final turn, which meant no overtaking. And there were yellow flags going into turn 1 as well for our Class C contenders. So no overtaking was going to happen between them as they came across the line. But we were hanging on to the shot just to pick up on the leader. There he is. And it's going to be a victory of note for Rory Atkinson. First time out that he's taken a victory over Harry Potter in a very long time.
Atkinson was justified taking the 2nd win on the day as he was robbed of that victory and the points coming out of race number 1.
Smallberger taking 2nd place and Louis Robertson in 3rd place in the Class A's. Nick Clark was first ahead of Henning and Dane Stewart in 3rd place in the Bs.
Xander Ruiz went on to make it a double in the Class Cs.
Alka, I think I can count on half a hand how many of the old Golfs are left on this grid. Everyone's got the Polos, and you can see you guys are battling. These things pull hard down the straights.
Yeah, they do, definitely. They're really good on the braking, but I think our power bands are also a bit different. There's top-end speed down the straight. They seem to pull away just a little bit, but in the corners, Golf handles really well.
Yeah, the car looks rock solid, but we're going to have to talk about the fact that there's a couple of main players here. Class C, you could always run at the front last year. It's going to be hard to get there this time. You can see it.
Definitely, yeah. Wouter Ruiz and Sean Kraus is really up there with their photos. Yeah, I've got some work to do. Between race 1 and race 2, we did some setup changes that really helped me a lot, so we'll just carry on and try and keep the Golf 1 right up there.
They call him Sean Kraus. They call the car we sat on the incredible Polo, and it has become one of those cars to watch out for. In the Class Cs, Sean, you're going to be a wild child to watch out for the whole way through the year. Good result in heat number 1. Things got a little bit away from you in heat number 2.
Well, I wouldn't say it got away from me. I think it was just a bit of a B-class car coming in between us. But it's one of those things, we get it done and we come back next week and we'll take it from there. And next month the race will go a lot better and a lot smoother.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy year that you can see. Class C, one of those ones we're going to watch out for. In fact, all the categories across the Comsol Golfwagen Challenge, it's going to be busy. Right now, the man you have to watch out for is Xander Ruiz.
Yeah, well, I think we can't actually chase away a bunch of the guys in the class. Elke van Vleder, Henry van Vleder, and those guys. Henry didn't even race with his proper car, so we'll see what happens in the next heat when everybody's here and with their cars fully stocked and ready to go.
Watch out for the incredible Polo as it gets angry for the rest of the season. Jamesy, it looks like you were the man to beat today, and in the second heat, it came and bit you pretty hard. What went wrong? He's obviously had some problems on the machine between the races.
Yeah, look, it's been overheating intermittently the whole weekend, and I think maybe it's a coil pack this time, but it just cut out dead. So I had no race left. I had to just surrender.
Yeah, so you just had to step out and limp this one home. So, look, it's the beginning of the season. You've got a long way. You can actually catch things up. But it looks like if Rory keeps his nose clean, he is going to run with this.
Yeah, he looks very consistent. I did some setup changes between the races, which seemed to work quite well. But yeah, car's broken.